This is probably the most important video I've ever made. Not only does it discuss the allegations currently against Anilive, but it talks about my own mistreatment within the company as well as the mistreatment of others. Even if you don't care about drama, you don't know what Anilive is, I ask that you please watch this video, please share it, anything. What this company has been doing is awful and it really needs to be addressed. Now, there are some people out there who are faking being part of the Anilive program and spreading misinformation, as well as a bunch of other stuff that we will cover in this video. I have all the receipts from my experience, but make sure to take anyone else's information with a grain of salt. There's a lot of lies being spread around. I'm going to start off by covering what the allegations against the company currently are, and then we'll move on into my personal experience, and at the very end of the video, I will be reading off some statements that some of my other fellow talents have given me to read anonymously for you all. I've been working on this video for 3 days straight, and I have poured over 20 hours of work into it. It would mean a lot if you would watch till the end of the video, or if you're unable to do that, just leave it in a tab in the background. I really want my voice to be heard, as well as the other talents that have been hurt by this company. I'm doing my best to make this a straightforward process, but please bear with me if we jump from point to point at times. Due to a contract that I've agreed to sign, I'll only be sharing knowledge on my own personal experiences, as well as information they've already made available to the public. If you aren't already familiar with it, Anilive is a new VTuber app that is currently in open alpha for both iOS and Android. It is owned by a parent company named Netherball, which we will be discussing more later in the video. Currently, the app is onboarding talent through an application process, meaning that only those that are approved directly by the company can stream on the platform, and it is not open to the public. Around 5 months ago, Anilive was already in some major heat for requiring all streamers on their platform to provide their model files to the company in order to stream. A lot of people were really hesitant to give up all of their model files as they're very expensive and very important, and I don't blame them. Even Iron Mouse, one of the biggest VTubers, expressed her concerns on this matter. You can find multiple videos on YouTube where she talks about Anilive several months ago. Cut to the end of October 2024, and there are now even more AI allegations. This is the storm we are currently dealing with. This time though, the accusations are directed towards Anilive's second wave of talents, known as Jumpstart Volume 2. I was actually a part of this program, which is why I'm deciding to speak up about this. I'm not allowed to reveal who I was within the program, nor do I plan to as per my contract. Though I have my current identity as Karma to fall back on, many of the other talents are significantly less fortunate and are kind of stuck within the program. Please don't send any negativity to the talents, nor should you spam questions in DMs, anything of that sort. Let them breathe, because I promise everyone is freaking out right now. I would know. First off, I'd like to provide a little bit of context to the situation for anyone that might be new here. Now, Anilive is something called the Jumpstart program, which is intended to help people become VTubers on their platform. Not only does this program provide a free model for all chosen applicants, but it also agrees to pay each new talent a minimum of $300 a month for their first 3 months streaming on the platform. This offer can look super appealing to people wanting cheap entry to the VTubing industry, especially considering the company says you can have full rights to your model after a certain amount of time streaming through their platform. In fact, this offer is so enticing that even I, as a seasoned indie VTuber, decided to apply. It's important to note that Anilive is currently on Volume 2 or Wave 2 of their Jumpstart program. Volume 1 began debut over this summer, and the talents are already rather established within the platform. When looking at these models, you'll notice they are in fact Live 2D. Live 2D models can cost anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000 and sometimes much more. With the amount of talents in Volume 1, as well as the $300 a month they're offering, it's safe to assume a lot of money was spent on the project. Now that Volume 2 is in progress and talents have begun to debut from it, it's glaringly obvious there are a lot of differences in quality. The current models being debuted are much stiffer, and the rigging looks unnatural at times. Some models may look a little worse than others. Now that I've established a little bit of context, I'd like you to keep these things in mind as I switch topics to talk about my own personal experience within the hiring process and the company. After seeing many ads for Anilive, especially on TikTok, I thought it might be fun to try. I already have an established persona here as Karma, and the concept of an app just for VTubers piqued my interest. Despite this, I realized the app only supported Live 2D, which I am obviously not. Rather than pass on the opportunity, I thought it might be fun to challenge myself by having a secret alter ego. Now, there are 2 ways to apply to the Anilive platform. There is the one where you have a model and where you don't have a model. Because I didn't have one, I applied through the new streamer application, which can still be found on Anilive's website. The form was super short, and when I woke up in the morning, I'd already received an email saying staff would like to hold an interview with me. I was super excited, as I hadn't expected to be reached out to so fast. In hindsight, I probably should have noticed that this was a red flag, but we're gonna get to that. I was told interviews were going to be on a rolling basis, so the sooner I interviewed with them, the more likely I was to be accepted into the program. Taking this to heart, I looked at the Google Calendar invites I had received and I scheduled an interview for later that same night. I scheduled my interview through Google Calendar around 10:30 in the morning. My interview was set to be that night at 11 p.m., so I had about 12 hours until. Once my time was set, I was asked to add a particular staff member on Discord in order to prepare for the interview later that night. When I went to add them, Discord said the username did not exist. Obviously, errors happen and typos exist, so I sent an email letting staff know that I could not add the person necessary. I really didn't want to miss my interview just due to a typo. 4 hours later, I had not received an email back. This was super concerning to me, so I sent another email asking for the username to be double-checked. Companies get busy, and I understand that sometimes your inbox is not the most organized. Emails get lost. After sending that email back to the address that originally contacted me, I decided to look at my Google Calendar invite for the interview. From there, I found the email to the direct staff member I was supposed to be adding on Discord. I typed up a third email for the day and sent it to that staff member, letting them know I wasn't able to get in contact with them. Hours later, I had still not received a response from either address. In a panicked state, I realized that you can add notes to Google Meetings. Around 6 p.m. that evening, that's exactly what I decided to do. I went to the interview time in Google Calendar, and I added a note saying that I wasn't able to add the staff member on Discord. At this point, I had tried to contact them 4 different times in 3 different ways. Now, I planned to stream that night from 8:30 to 10:30 p.m., and I was terrified that I wouldn't get a response in time before my interview. While I was streaming, I obsessively kept checking my emails just to see if anything had changed. It wasn't until 10:30 that night that I received an email saying, "I sent a friend request." There was no name, no signature, simply the one sentence. Nearly 12 hours after I sent my first email. Again, in hindsight, this lack of communication should have been a huge red flag. I was asked a few questions about myself and I went on about my day. Because it was a weekend, I couldn't receive my approval until the following Monday, which I did. I was super ecstatic and I wanted to get through the process as fast as possible to make movements towards debut. And this is where things started to go more downhill. From here, I'm not allowed to share specifics of certain information I received, as all new talents are prompted to digitally sign a terms of service contract before moving further. I'd like to make a note that this was the most loose contract I have ever seen. Even the fact that it was in a Google Forms felt a little unprofessional. I was informed that I was going to be part of Jumpstart Volume 2, which I had not even heard of until this point. When I was being told about the program, I was told I would be testing out a new feature for the application. Now that Anilive has made a public statement, I'm allowed to say it was this new rigging technology that they've mentioned. The way this technology was explained to me was that I would be somewhere between Live 2D and a PNG tuber. I didn't really want to be a PNG tuber, but because of the reassurance I was given, I was led to believe the final product would look significantly better than anything I had seen before. I was given the reassurance of when my eyes move, they move. When my mouth opens and closes, it opens and closes. Seemed good enough. I left the conversation feeling a little bit uneasy, but I decided, I've already accepted the contract, might as well keep going. This new technology was pitched to me to say that it would help lower the entry barrier into VTubing, as it can often be a very expensive hobby. As someone who's already a VTuber, I know the costs add up, so it seems good enough to me. I'd love to be a part of developing a technology that helps people get into the hobby. After I agreed to all the terms, I was also told that I would be given a pre-made model. I had already been under the assumption I would be given a pre-made model, so this was no surprise to me. I was told to fill out a short Google Forms document in order to help them pick out one of the options that I might like. I'll be honest, I didn't really love any of the 3 options I was shown. Despite this, I felt a little bit pressured into just picking one anyways. Staff made it extremely clear to me that they wanted to make no alterations. They would only make changes if it was absolutely necessary, and even then it would only be small adjustments such as adding animal ears or changing small color palettes. I know there's a lot of other talents that were unhappy with their models, but felt pressured to choose just like me. As it stands, I know of 2 talents in particular who did request changes though. One requested to add horns, and the other asked to change the color palette. Staff wasn't super quick to correct these things, so both talents actually ended up requesting permission to edit the model themselves. This further solidified the fact that staff wanted all models to be taken at face value with 0 adjustments. It felt mildly dismissive, but I pushed forwards anyways. Also, I'd like to note that all of these quote-unquote models shown to me were just static PNGs, with 0 animation. Once I picked out my model, aka image, I was given a Google Drive link where I was instructed to watch 3 different videos. The total watch time added up to about 30 minutes and explained a little bit more about Anilive, what the platform is, and how it works. I'm not permitted to show them to you all, nor am I allowed to discuss any of the contents in detail. It was within these videos I got the first look at the type of technology that would be used for my model. I was instructed that all models are made by human artists, and that I cannot discuss the technology until it's released publicly. As I record this November 2nd, Anilive has officially made a statement regarding the technology, and though they do not publicly say the name, which I was told, they do let the public know that it exists. Basically, everything in the public statement that Anilive made was something that us creators were told as we were onboarded. None of this information was new to us, nor did it resolve the issues we were having. I feel like the video I was shown was a bit deceptive, as the tracking was very smooth. It didn't seem to have any of the same glitches or deformation that can be seen in some of the already debuted models. At this point, I fully knew what I had signed up for, and I felt a little bit underwhelmed. I'd already chosen a model, started socials, signed a contract, and even worked on branding though, so I didn't really want to quit, and that was a lot of work down the drain. I decided I would give it a chance and accept things for what they were. I told myself that if I didn't like it, I would stream until I got my money, and then I would leave. Things took a turn for worse when I actually saw my model in app. There were so many issues. Now let me remind you, my model was not a model at all, but simply a static PNG. Now I have nothing against PNG tubers, but whenever I uploaded my PNG and the app animated it for me, everything became deformed. The eyes were smeared, especially when half closed. Everything just looked wrong. Even when the eyes were open and in my default pose, they didn't match up with my normal art. On top of this, part of my model was completely cropped off, leaving just a flat, blunt line. This felt entirely unacceptable, so I took a bunch of screenshots and I sent them to staff. I'd like to take a moment to just put these two pictures side by side for you. I feel like it's very easy to see all of the differences. The line art disappears, the colors become muddled and smushed. Everything looks completely wrong once animated, but the normal art looks human. Staff assured me the technology is still in its early stages and they would work to fix any of the issues that I was having. Obviously, this never happened for myself, nor anyone else. And this is the whole reason you're watching this video. Now, most of the AI allegations are currently based on the fact that each model has deformation around the eyes and the mouth. Several screenshots have been circulating with talents having their eyes half closed, etc. Now, there is a Japanese smartphone application called Irium which has a very similar technology being used to what I believe is being used here. It's been going on for a long time over in Japan, and now it's finally making its way over to America. Having said all this, I do think that whatever technology Anilive has developed is significantly further behind than the things we're seeing over in Irium in Japan. I think this is where a lot of the confusion is coming in for people. With Irium being much further along in the developmental process, the errors are a lot less noticeable. Honestly, I think Anilive is developing a cool technology, but they released this to the public way before they were ready to. They figured they would just toss out a half-developed technology and everyone would be happy, but obviously they are not. I don't speak Japanese, and I'm not super familiar with Irium, but one of my other talents was the one that actually brought this application to my attention. Basically, you take a normal image, you upload it into the application, and it automatically animates it for you. Based on everything I was told, this is exactly what I had to do as part of the Jumpstart Volume 2 program. I uploaded my photo, and boom, it's magically animated. I think some kind of AI algorithm has been made in-house by Anilive in order to create these fake facial expressions such as eyes closed, mouth open, whatever. That would explain a lot as to why after the image is uploaded into Anilive, it starts to take on that deformed and AI look. For the third time, let me show you these two photos side by side. The one that looks obviously AI is only visible within the Anilive app, whereas the normal art looks completely normal and made by a human. Again, I don't want to get into the ethics of AI art or, where they trained this, whatever. Now, artists in a studio are very likely overworked. If they receive a big order like what Anilive gave them, it's very possible that there were several artists trying to complete the commissions simultaneously. This means one person might draw these 5 while another draws these 5. Obviously, different artists are going to have different art styles, so each model is going to look a little bit different. If people are trying to really push through these commissions, they're going to be rushed and they're going to make a lot of mistakes. Now, some of these have explanations for why they look like that, some of them don't. Okay, so this is Yuna here. Now, she is another talent that decided to graduate just like me. She's been a little bit more open about her identity than I will be, but that's her decision. Now, her art has a lot of issues which people have been pointing out in order to say that the art is in fact AI. While some of these are a little bit unexplainable, I think some of them can also be explained away as mistakes due to being rushed or just sloppy in general. Obviously, a random dot here and there could just be a simple mistake that didn't get erased. And maybe the fingers weren't actually misdrawn, they were just colored very poorly because the artist was in a rush. Same with the line weight and things like that. Obviously, some of these issues do look a little more unnatural though. I do recognize this is a very complex pattern on the dress. Maybe the artist just got lazy and was trying to fill things in thinking no one would notice? Again, with a really large commission, I guarantee they want to spend as little time between each character design as possible. Yuna's design is very complex compared to a lot of the others. If they tried to draw her model in the exact same time span as someone with a much simpler design, obviously they're going to be cutting some corners. That doesn't fully explain everything in the art though, so I'll kind of leave that as you will. I really don't think all the illustrations in Jumpstart Volume 2 are AI. I will say that, because looking at my model as well as the other models I was offered, I see no errors with them. And with a lot of the other models I looked at, I'm not seeing a lot of issues either. A lot of people have been asking for credits of the artists to be revealed, and I don't think that's gonna happen. But what I can tell you is that all of the art was actually commissioned from an art studio. Is it possible that AI was being used within the studio without anyone knowing? I mean, maybe. But honestly, I think a lot of the mistakes are just from people that are overworked, very inexperienced artists, or maybe a combination of the two. I really don't have information, and neither does anyone else outside of Anilive staff. They're the only ones that know the truth at this point. Having said that, there still are a lot of questions that I know a lot of us want answers to. Even if all of the mistakes within the art are made by human laziness and not AI, I still think it's important for Anilive to address this publicly. It's super easy to just say, hey, you know, we commissioned some people, they gave us some really crappy work, we're sorry, we'll do better. Like, it's that easy. On top of that, I did see a screenshot that was leaked earlier today on Twitter regarding the illustrators and how talents are supposed to approach them. Within this message, staff told talents that they are not allowed to personally DM the artist of their model, even if they find out who they are. So not only are the talents not allowed to know their illustrator, but we're also being told directly by the company that we are not allowed to talk to them in private, even if we do somehow figure it out with some internet sleuthing. This is really strange. Now, I can understand saying, hey, please don't publicly share it, but the fact that we're not even allowed to talk to them, that smells a little fishy to me. Before I let my past self go back to talking, there's one more thing I want to address. There are two models in particular made by Anilive that are actual knockoffs of anime characters. I cannot make this up. I'm just gonna throw these photos out here and you tell me who they make you think of. If you said 02 and Albedo, you'd be right. I've never even watched either of these animes and even I still got the reference. Like, I understand all art uses something as a reference. Like, technically there's no such thing as originality. Everything's already been done. But like, come on. This is way too similar. I mean, 02's outfit is like relatively unique in my opinion. Sure, pink straight hair is normal, but like to have both, and then even Albedo, like you could have had a black-haired demon girl or something and not given her a white cutout dress. Even just changing the color of the dress from white would have done wonders for you, but no, you kept the exact color palette as well as design. I'm already at such a loss for words. Like, I don't even know what to say about this topic anymore. I might as well sprinkle in one more bit of information, and that is the fact that Another Ball, the parent company of Anilive and Izumo, also had a LinkedIn job listing for a generative AI engineer. It's worth being said. Now, generative AI engineer doesn't necessarily mean that this person was working on art specifically. AI is used in so many things nowadays, such as algorithms, that it's not too uncommon for a job to have a listing for someone involving AI. The only reason it looks so suspicious is because the company has so many allegations stacked up against it, whether it's the art was made with AI, the character designs were generated with AI and then drawn, or whatever else. If you want to hear more about the AI engineer job listing, my video is not the place for that because I don't really have enough information to say anything one way or another. Also, tell me why Nexus, a VTubing agency that has been debuting talents on Anilive, was quicker to respond to these allegations than Anilive themselves. On October October 31st, they made an entire statement saying they don't support AI, they'd never use it in any step of their creation process for talents, etc. Why is it that a company that wasn't even receiving these allegations was faster to respond than the company who was? And it wasn't even by like a short amount of time. Nexus released a statement on October 31st, and it took Anilive all the way until today, the day I'm recording this, November 2nd, to address it. Like, I understand needing to give your PR team some time to piece together an answer, but dang. Anyways, I am going to pass the mic back over to my past self, where I'm going to talk a little bit more about my personal experiences. There is so much more dirt besides the AI drama, so I hope you're ready, buckle up. For the rest of the video, I'd like to expand upon my own experiences within this whole nightmare, as well as some issues unrelated to AI that I have experienced within the company. Some of the other talents have asked to be a part of this video as well, and I'll be sharing their stories at the end. Please do not attempt to find out who they are within Anilive, as some of them may decide to continue within the company. This could potentially lead to their reputations being damaged, and I do not want that for them. When I became a part of the Anilive Jumpstart program, I instantly noticed that those of us in Volume 2 are being treated differently, and if I'm being honest, worse than Volume 1. While Volume 1 was given promotional posts on the official Anilive Twitter, I was told Volume 2 would not. Instead, I was allowed to directly at the Twitter account and important posts, and then they would repost it. This would be fine if they actually did it. However, it took them 4 days just to repost a single tweet of mine. At that point, the information was old news and irrelevant. I felt so horrible about the situation, not just for myself, but the others. We all deserved better. At some point, one of the talents sent a link to a Nexus debut schedule within our Discord and said they wished Anilive would do the same thing for us. Since it seemed none of us were being given attention, I took matters into my own hands. I'm decent at making graphics, so I decided I would make a schedule for us on my own. Even though it shouldn't be my job to do so, I wanted to give everyone a chance to feel special and important. I spent hours making a design template that looked somewhat official, and I made the schedule for Halloween week in a single night. Everyone was so excited, and it got tons of reposts and impressions on Twitter. I was super happy my hard work was helping so many people. I sent a link to my post to staff, kindly asking them to retweet it since they hadn't done so in the past. You can see the message I sent them here. In the screenshot, you see where I mentioned the fact that myself and others feel like we're being swept under the rug compared to Volume 2. I didn't want to come off as aggressive because I was new to the program and assumed maybe they just didn't realize how upset it was making some of us feel. I assumed I'd get a thoughtful response, and maybe they would even promise to do better in the future, but spoiler alert, they never responded. Later that evening, I saw that staff retweeted my post, and even though they never responded to my concerns in DMs, I brushed it aside and told myself that was good enough. Myself and some other talents worked hard to gather debut information, and I went to work on the schedule for next week. As I did this, I realized some of the talents had overlapping debut times. Staff had told me that they were going to space us out, but that didn't really seem to be the case. Some people had the data themselves, whereas on the day I was meant to debut, there were 6 of us talents. 2 of those 6 even shared a debut time, which staff had assured us would not happen. Others and I had to play Twitter detective, as Anilive never even notified us when new talents were onboarded. We would simply see a new account and try to reach out to them on our own. Also, I'd like to note that apparently someone confused me for staff because I posted this schedule on Twitter. Honestly, I thought this was super funny, and I had no idea people thought I was staff until I talked to them directly. They were so confused when they found out I was just a normal person. That really goes to show how little effort Anilive is putting into their talent. The fact that me, some random person that hadn't even debuted, was doing more than staff honestly says a lot about the company. The amount of people being onboarded felt super concerning, as most of us already felt like staff had no time to address any of our problems and concerns. Hiring new talent just meant we'd get even less attention. The day after I posted the schedule was when talents first noticed the AI rumors being spread on Twitter. Some people were more worried than others, which was to be expected. I wasn't too concerned, as I already kind of understood what was going on. I thought the allegations were silly, but I did my best to calm the others. Many reached out to staff, where they were given the same copy-pasted messages saying the art provided to us was human-made and nothing more. I went to bed that night assuming things would blow over, and when I woke up the next day, it seemed like all hell had broken loose. Nexus, a VTuber company that partners with Anilive, made a comment on the usage of AI, saying that they did not agree with it and would never use it. While they decided to make a statement, Anilive remained completely silent. This felt super irresponsible, as some talents had already been receiving harassment from strangers regarding the situation, both on stream and in DMs. As many of us talents reached out to staff, we were told to handle it ourselves. It seemed at that time that they had no plan of making any public statements. The night before, I had no plans on messaging staff regarding the issue, but seeing how worried my fellow talents were, I decided that I would. There's strength in numbers, and I thought that maybe if a lot of us messaged staff, they would be more likely to publicly respond. You can pause here to read my message if you'd like to. I did censor certain parts purely because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say those things publicly. In the message, I include screenshots of several tweets regarding the AI accusations, as well as express concern for the effects of the bad press on myself and other talents. I mentioned the Nexus made a statement already, and that their silence on the topic is dangerous. The longer they wait to speak, the worse things will get. I conclude my message by saying that it's the company's responsibility to handle the situation, and that they're being irresponsible by ignoring it and telling the talents to deal with it themselves. I urge staff to make a public statement as soon as possible, and I just leave things at that. This shouldn't be a surprise to you guys, but staff never responded to this message, nor the one before it, where I talked about the lack of promotion. I know staff was active, as others who sent messages later in the day received messages back. I felt like my concerns were being completely ignored, and I thought that maybe I was being too blunt or came off as rude. However, I stood by everything I said, and I refused to take it back. At this point in the day, us talents were made aware of the YouTube video I previously mentioned. I wanted to address it myself, however I knew staff probably wouldn't let me. I felt super frustrated and ignored because I'd never gotten responses for anything I'd said, and I'm sure others felt the same way. I decided that I was willing to take a hit for the team. I'm lucky enough to be an established creator with a great community outside of Anilive. After talking with my peers, I decided I wanted to make a video regarding this whole situation to address things. I was already making the schedules for my peers, even though that should have been the company job, so might as well make a public statement too, since it didn't seem like they were gonna do that either. I decided I would ask staff for permission to make a video on the topic on my current account, and I added I would not mention having any part in Anilive. I would be totally unbiased and in defense of my fellow talents. If they gave me permission, I would make the video. If they said I couldn't, I was fully willing to graduate just to get the message out. Believe it or not, this is actually my second video on this drama. While waiting for a response, I drafted the video with the intention of going public as soon as they said yes. I'm sure by now they wish they responded to me, as that video would have been much nicer than the one I'm making right now. After several hours of being ghosted, I was fuming. This was the third time they had ghosted me while still responding to everyone else. I had even pinged staff directly in the third message and still got no response. In frustration, I decided I was going to delete the entire message. I told myself they don't deserve for me to ask permission. I was being too nice by even giving them a choice on whether I spoke on the matter. I thought maybe I'd cool down about the situation and post it in a day or two if things weren't resolved. Now let's cut to November 1st, which I consider D-Day. Staff made an announcement within the official Discord regarding the AI accusations. Rather than fully debunking things and agreeing to make a public statement, they simply gave us the same answer they'd been giving us for days. Don't worry, your images are drawn by human artists. On top of that, they agreed to allow us to postpone our streaming and or debuts if we thought that was the best idea for us. This felt like such a slap in the face. Rather than fixing the issue, it felt like staff was just telling us, if you don't like it, then leave. Some talents instantly took the offer and canceled their debut. By the end of the day, I'd removed 5 people from the debut schedule for the next week, myself included. Staff asked us to place a message in our private chat logs on whether we would like to continue with our debut or cancel. Now, I had still not received a single response from staff on any of the topics I'd brought up. I initially replied saying that I would just go ahead and continue with my debut, but I really wanted a public statement to be made. I also called them out on the fact that I was the only person who had still not been responded to in private about my concerns. I was definitely being ignored. As you can probably guess, they didn't respond to this message either. They didn't care. After saying I'd continue with my debut, I talked with some of the other talents and realized that maybe I was wrong to want to continue. I told myself I would give Anilive until the end of the weekend to make a public statement, and if they chose not to, I would fully graduate. I began typing up a very long message to staff regarding all of my concerns and issues within the program. By the end of it, I realized I didn't even want to give Anilive the chance to make a statement and win me back on their side. Rather than send this message in private like initially intended, I decided I was going to place it in the public feedback channel of the official Anilive Discord. Because of the character limit, I was forced to split it into 2 posts. You can see though by all the reactions to my message, a lot of the other talents agreed with my sentiments. In that moment, I felt like Martin Luther hanging the 99 Thesis on the Catholic Church door. On top of this, I sent one last message in private to staff. It was here that I explained I was graduating effective immediately. I promised to support the individual talents, but not the company from this point forward. I ended everything by saying this entire dumpster fire was a byproduct of poor decision making on behalf of the company, and that I have no sympathy for whatever PR nightmare they land themselves in. This is where I also decided I'm going to make a new video, and that's what you're watching now. My fellow talents wished me the best, and were more than happy to keep me around in the unofficial server, even after my graduation. Okay, wow, I am eating my own words again. Future Karma here, hi! So I am no longer in the unofficial Discord because that got nuked as well. And honestly, I have no one to blame for that. I'm gonna make this really brief. I'm very upset. I actually cried about it last night. But there have been people going around pretending to be Anilive Jumpstart talents. So if you got this far in the video, please don't believe anyone that says anything unless they have receipts. Now, I was reached out to by someone on Twitter, but they said that they were a Jumpstart person and they wanted to make a statement for my video since I was allowing people to make statements. But when they sent me this message, there were just so many details that, as someone that was actually in the program, were wrong, you know? Like, sure, everyone had slightly different experiences, but it really seemed like they were just making things up. And obviously, as someone that's been a part of drama like this before, I recognize that people will do anything to get an inside scoop. Not only did they reach out to me, but they also reached out to another talent which had also chosen to graduate. Now, they reached out to the two of us in very different ways. Whereas they reached out to me saying they wanted to make a statement, they reached out to them being like, oh, I want to graduate too. I don't know what to do. What did you do? So obviously it felt like fishing for information. Anyways, what it boils down to is this other individual let them know that we had an unofficial streamer Discord and was like, wow, are you not in the Discord? And they're like, oh, no, I'm not. And obviously, because I think this was someone fishing for information, they wanted to get inside. They told them they would try to get them an invite, and staff of our unofficial server decided to talk it over on whether they were going to allow this person in. One of the big issues we had is that they were completely anonymous. We had no way of knowing who they actually were. And besides, if you're wanting to make a statement about Anilive, why do you have to use an anonymous account to talk to other people in the program? It doesn't make sense. It's one thing to have an anonymous account to speak publicly on the situation, but another to talk to other people suffering through the same scenario. Anyways, after the mods got done talking, they kind of made the same conclusion I had, that this person was faking it and just trying to get info out of any of us that they could. It's really sad to say that the mods did come to the decision that anyone who quit the company before they debuted did have to be removed from the unofficial streamer Discord. Now, this was heartbreaking for me. Like, I legitimately cried when reading this announcement. I've been doing content creation for over 2 years and I've never made a single VTuber friend. This was the first time I had found a community where I really felt like I fit in. I was so happy to meet everyone and be a part of everything. I mean, it shows through all the effort I did by making schedules, whatever else. I completely understood why they made the decision they did, and I completely respected that. So, you know, I made a little goodbye message and I left. A couple people have added me since then, including some of the mods, and I understand it was not a personal decision, but it still sucks that one bad apple ruins it for everybody. So if any of you out there are trying to pretend to be part of Anilive or one of the victims just in order to get close to other talents, stop. I did agree that I still wanted to make the schedules for everyone, and the mods are going to be continuing to give me what information they can so that I can try to still be a part of the community without being allowed in the Discord anymore. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that. By the way, it is November 3rd now. I've been working on this video for like 3 days straight. I announced my graduation to staff over 48 hours ago now, and they still haven't responded. But honestly, they haven't responded to anything else either. So honestly, I'm kind of wondering if they ever are going to respond to me quitting. How funny would it be if they do not acknowledge me by the time I was supposed to debut on Friday, and I just debut anyways just to say fuck you? Like, honestly, that would be hilarious, and I'm kind of contemplating it. I am still the only person who has not been responded to. I have not received a message from staff in days regarding any of my concerns. Everyone else who decided to postpone their debut or continue was given a confirmation message by staff, except me. Even the other talent that decided to graduate received a message back from staff. Why am I being ignored? I don't know if they thought that ignoring me would make my concerns and anger disappear, but I would like them to know it only made it worse. Now that I've told my story, I'd like to let some of the other talents anonymously share theirs. All of the screenshots I'm going to share with you guys, I've been given explicit permission to use by the person who wrote them. I'll be keeping their identities anonymous just for their own safety because I don't want anyone getting in trouble with the company while trying to have their voice heard. These first 2 screenshots are written by the same person. The first screenshot I'm showing you is something that they posted within the public feedback section of the official Anilive streamer Discord. This place is where us talents are supposed to be able to post our thoughts and concerns, and staff will address them in a public forum. The title says, "Please stop hiring." Don't get me wrong, I love all my amazing coworkers and friends that I've made here, but I know myself and many others have started realizing just how many of us there are, and it's becoming a problem. There are so many things we need to fix before we keep hiring new people, and I feel that with hiring so many people, we can't properly fix said issues. It's not just me that feels this way either. So many people in this community have said the same thing, and I just want to bring this to light. There's too many people here, with the Jumpstarters, Indies, and Nexus talents rolling in, so please consider hitting the brakes. Please consider some time to focus on the event awards that haven't happened yet, and make sure the talents already here get the attention they very much deserve. Thank you. As you can see, there have been 34 people that reacted to this message, meaning that they agree with the sentiment stated. Now I'd like to move on to the message they sent me in private as to their own personal experience within the company. Hello, I'm someone in Volume 1. I won't say who, but the way Anilive is doing things is personally affecting me as well. A little bit ago, I won one of the events and was promised a very good reward. It was then ordered 2 days later, with it being cancelled only 2 hours later. I personally cannot afford said thing, so this hurt a ton. And I messaged staff about it. They answered 3 days later, when they were responding to a different unrelated message, then telling me that I would have to wait way longer to get the reward I was promised the day after it was ordered. I still haven't gotten said item, and I'm still waiting. I'm pissed. I think Anilive is spending too much effort on hiring talents they can't take care of, and not enough of the talents they currently have. If they don't resolve the issues in the community soon, not just the AI, but all of them, I will personally be graduating and going indie. There's no way in hell that this is acceptable, and this needs to change. When I joined Anilive, it was for a fun community, not one where I don't even feel that anything's being done. Don't get me wrong, I love all the people here to the fullest, but I can't do this anymore. This needs to change or I'm out. Honestly, I think this person's story is one of the worst out of all of them. If you aren't already aware, Anilive hosts in-app events where winners are determined based on how many coins you receive or how many hours you've streamed. This individual won an event where she was promised a very expensive prize. Upon winning an event, staff ordered this item, however, within 2 hours of it being ordered, they cancelled it. Since then, they've been very dodgy on whether this prize is ever going to get delivered at all. It seems like there's not been a lot of effort for them to even reschedule the order. Considering just how expensive the prize was, I was astonished whenever I heard about this. I really hope they're able to get the prize because they deserve it and they worked hard to win it. As they repeatedly said, I think one of the big issues with Anilive is that they're significantly overhiring. Rather than focusing on the people they already have, they would rather just get new people. This is super unfair to everyone that has already been hired but feels ignored. This is a statement from another individual. This was also released in the public feedback channel of the official Anilive Discord. I went ahead and read over the statement recently released by Anilive, and I can tell there's a good amount of people who aren't buying the statement. There's plenty of things that were left unaddressed on the statement. No artists nor production companies have been named. The generative AI engineer position on LinkedIn was left up for a while under Anilive. These are not hard to address. Outside of the AI accusations, I feel like we, the Anilivers, are not being heard. There's plenty of feedback left within the official server, some going weeks and weeks without a response. Besides that, when Anilivers, especially Jumpstarters, attempt to contact staff, they go days and days without a response. Same goes for the delays for Anilive event prizes. There were no new updates about the Ani Team's party event, an event started mid-September, or the Times Square ads for the winning team. And one of the Jumpstarters who won a new iPhone via a Halloween event was suddenly cancelled for some unknown reason. The amount of unprofessionalism and lack of transparency is absurd, because it seems like Anilive's main priority is to keep onboarding for Volume 2 instead of focusing on those who have already debuted. Some of the pre-debut jumpstarts for Volume 2 are already graduating, and some pausing their debuts because of this. We feel we're not being supported nor protected at all. Please do better. Once again, this individual talks about the prizes for events with an Anilive not even being given out. Now, I'm relatively new to Anilive, so I'm not familiar with all of the prizes that were discussed. I do know recently there was a Halloween event where the prize was that people would be promoted in Akihabara as like a little billboard advertisement. There have been zero updates on this. A while back, there was apparently another event where the winners were supposed to receive an advertisement in New York Times Square. There has been absolutely no follow-up on this prize either. No one has seen pictures or heard any information. All of these are just examples of Anilive saying they'll do something and not following through. Could they still be working on things? Absolutely, but so far, No one has any information on any of the prizes actually being delivered as they were supposed to be. On top of the message I just read, this individual also posted a message October 26th in the feedback channel. Around the time I debuted in September, I've seen much more official posts for Volume 1 talents made on the Anilive Twitter account. Recently, I've seen a lack of posts for Volume 2 talents, so it makes it more difficult to find all of the upcoming debuts for Volume 2 talents. I've only seen retweets made by the account for some Volume 2 talents, but no official posts from what I've seen. Personally, I feel the Volume 2 talents deserve just as much as the Volume 1. Out of all of the screenshots I'm going to show, this is the only feedback that was actually addressed, and I have a feeling it's because of how old it was. The initial message was made on the 26th, but staff did not actually respond until October 31st. The response staff gave was pretty generic as well. Basically, they just say, "We're not trying to exclude anyone, we're just really understaffed and onboarding a lot of new people, so we don't have time to promote everyone. That's why we decided to retweet people instead of making official posts." And again, I completely understand and would respect this decision if they were actually retweeting everyone. The problem is, they're not. So there are many talents that go completely unrecognized by the official Twitter at all. Now, for the third individual who I am going to be sharing their messages, they have been in contact with staff since October 28th. This is before a lot of the drama became mainstream. In their own words, staff is making no real effort to fix this situation. This first message I'm reading is from November 1st. "I would also like this to be addressed. Please address the situation where the model looks like it's AI generated for JP Volume 2 before making a formal statement that the company does not use AI for model art and rigging. Why is there a job application of generative AI engineer under your company logo? And if this is something Anilive as a company is planning to move forward with making Gen AI. Also, I would like to see the time-lapse of the illustration being drawn by the artist as well as a rigging time-lapse. As well, I would like to see who is the artist and rigger to the models. Another thing, why are so many artists working on a single illustration where one artist is able to handle the single illustration? Looking at Volume 1, I do not believe anyone from Volume 1, is using a generated AI model. I do not see the similar inconsistencies I've seen in Volume 1 like I do in JP Volume 2. Please understand your talents are currently being accused of using AI. This is very damaging not only to your company, but damaging to your talents as well. This will affect the reputation, including credibility of the company, as well as the talents, and this will affect them in the long run if this isn't addressed properly. As a reminder, artists and riggers are the backbone of the community, and using AI for model art or rigging is frowned upon. Following up with insert names here, feedback, I definitely agree to stop hiring new talents, as judging by the quality of work and time being put into your next wave of Volume 2, it's not on the same level standard of time being put in like the other talents. This may seem harsh, and I will say that from an outsider looking at it, the company itself is pushing for quantity instead of quality. Definitely agree that it's better to focus on the events instead of consistently releasing new waves of talents. This message went completely unaddressed, as to be expected. This same individual made another post approximately 36 hours after the first. I will ask again, as this is the similar answer you've given me in private when I brought up this issue originally. From my viewpoint, Anilive has put out a statement that is similar to a he said she said with no actual evidence, time-lapse, or credit to back up your claim. The only thing that Anilive is claiming is that they don't use AI. This is based on your words and your words only with nothing to back it up. This is quite damaging and it hurts your credibility towards your company, as well as continues to put your talent under fire while they're defending for themselves. I've requested before that these be addressed. Artist or production being credited, time-lapse of the work, art and animation. Address the job post that was on LinkedIn. You have not answered this or addressed this in private or publicly. Why are so many artists working on a single illustration where one artist is able to handle a single illustration? Leaving the talents to defend for themselves is something a PR team is supposed to handle in times like this. Nexus has already placed their statement. I myself, as an indie, do not approve of the use of Gen AI, and am already upset with this and how it is turning out. The Jumpstarts have no one to defend them besides themselves and are either on pause or have graduated. Not only that, but the amount of DM and emails you were sending to everyone to join the Jumpstart program is coming off the scam bot instead of something professional. Once again, I have pointed out signs of Gen AI in the artwork that doesn't look to be caused by the rigging technology. Please understand it is not just the eye. I have highlighted multiple parts outside of the eyes where the hair was merging when it shouldn't, the lines for the hair not lining up with others, or missing a line to separate the hair from each other, where eyebrows, one is in front of the hair and one is behind. I also come to notice another Jumpstart where their arm looks somewhat off. Now, I'd like to quickly address the part where they talk about people being reached out to through DM and email to join the Jumpstart program. This is another huge issue I actually forgot to include in the video up until this point. I'm going to be super brief because it's pretty self-explanatory. Anilive has been obsessively DMing people on Twitter as well as sending emails to individuals asking them to join their platform and the Jumpstart program. There is one individual whose name I know within the company that has been doing 90% of this, but I'm not going to say their name here. I'm sure the company already knows who they are because many of us have already brought this up to staff. There's at least 3 instances that I know of that this staff member reached out to people already in the Anilive Jumpstart program asking them to join. How is it that your own staff doesn't even know who has joined and who has not? Apparently, there was originally a Twitter account for Jumpstart Volume 2, and the current Anilive account was only for Jumpstart Volume 1. If you go to look up the account, it has actually been banned on Twitter. A lot of us talents believe this reason is because they were reaching out to literally everyone in their DMs asking them to apply to the Anilive program. Obviously, Twitter flagged this as spam, and the account ended up being banned. Honestly, this is so unprofessional. The fact that you have one person dedicated to just spam DMing people to join really says a lot about the company and how desperate you are. With this whole PR nightmare that Anilive has landed itself in, I'm sure people are even less likely to join now. I have received some other statements from other talents, and I still have a lot of information that I didn't get to fully cover within the video. Despite all this, the video has already gotten really long and I've poured so much work into this. I think rather than continuing to go back and re-edit my video as new information comes out, I just want to leave things as they are, and if in the future it becomes necessary to make a part 2, I will. However, I really don't want to have to make a part 2. I want this situation over and done with. Myself as well as the other talents are so tired. As we wrap up the video, I just want to say please don't send hate towards any of us. None of us knew the absolute nightmare that we were getting ourselves into. I've seen a lot of people saying things like, oh, well, you saw it was AI, you knew what you were getting into, and that's completely untrue. I mean, look at my personal experience. Nothing I was shown was AI. I legitimately thought nothing was AI until very recently. Maybe I was being a little naive, but regardless, it doesn't matter. I was lied to, and so was everyone else. None of us deserve the hate. Anilive does. I really hope this situation gets resolved and everyone can move past this in a timely manner. Thank you guys so much for listening to my story as well as the stories of everyone else. Before I go, I'd like to say one last thing. Anilive, burn in hell.